and life. But for farmed animals, it's actually worse because the torture and pain and misery that fill their lives, it fills it minute by minute and day by day. And they never get a chance to move away and see a therapist unless they go to a farm sanctuary, which is therapy, I guess. And then it just ends in painful and really terrifying murder. They don't even really get to live an existence worthy of the current life, as far as I'm concerned. So they actually had it worse. I feel like they have it worse than sexually abused children, at least for myself. I can't speak for others, but I can speak for myself. And that's not something I say lightly. But again, it was over 5 years of sexual abuse. It was from my older brother. He was actually quite sadistic, and he would also torture me mentally and physically. And it pretty much happened every single day. Like, I guess there was a day off once in a while, but that was rare, and sometimes it would just go on for hours at a time. And I would be screaming in fear and pain, and my parents would just not respond. They didn't really know the extent of what was going on. So there was also neglect as well. And as a result, I became very suicidal. My first suicide attempt was in 7th grade. I overdosed on 100 painkillers. But before I was able to digest them, I vomited. Thank goodness. Throughout my teens, I was hospitalized a couple times for overdosing. I also went to the roof of an apartment building and sat there really wanting to jump off and being too scared, and I put my wrist a few times. So, despite all that, I still think that what these animals go through is far, far worse than what I ever did. And that's why I feel so upset about it, about the people around me not being vegan. And again, I'm not, the fact that I'm upset and angry and bitter and sad and all that doesn't mean that I have any hatred towards anyone. In fact, I have love. I have people that I love around me. My own mother, I love her. My father, one of my best friends. You know, so I don't want anyone to feel like I have any hatred towards them. And people might think that I'm trivializing my suffering, having it compared to animal suffering, but quite the opposite. I think it actually minimizes animal suffering to make the child porn comparisons. Again, I think it's worse. I've never been forced to live in a cage more proud than rush hour subway. You just live there every single day. And I hate being stuck in a rush hour subway, like when it's passengers home. I can't imagine living my whole life proud of that. And having to go to the bathroom and live in my own filth and shit. I've never had my genitals cut off without anesthetic. I've never been dingled or cut down by my ankles and had my throat slit. You know, and they have no rest or relief from it. At least even when I was being abused, at least the majority of the 24 hours of my day, I was abuse-free. They don't have a moment that's free from it. So, at the same time, there's limitations to the child porn analogy because most people, first of all, don't know what you just saw. They don't know how bad the lives of farmed animals are. They also don't know that farmed animals feel emotions. They haven't really thought about it before. They don't realize that they suffer emotional pain. They don't realize that they're capable of experiencing emotional pleasure if they were left in the wild, which they're deprived of in their circumstances. They don't think about the happy lives they could have. They don't think about the fact they have individual personalities. So, despite that their eating habits of non-vegans cause extreme suffering, they're ignorant. So I think that their ignorance makes them pretty innocent. This is unlike a person who watches child porn, who hears or sometimes she knows exactly what they're doing. They know that it's wrong, but they just don't care enough to stop. So, even though I would say that unnecessarily choosing to eat animal products is as great a crime as watching child porn, I would not say that an ignorant non-vegan is as unethical a human being as a child porn watcher. I think they don't know any better. But I feel that once a non-vegan knows the horrors that farmed animals suffer, and yet they continue to choose to be non-vegan. Now I'm talking about for those whose choice, again, not the people I mentioned earlier. But once they know the truth and they're still choosing not to be vegan, it's really hard for me to see them as any better than someone who watches child porn. So I'll concede to the fact that the desire to masturbate to images of children is in itself very, very sick, a sick desire, whereas the desire to eat tasty food is not sick. So I'm not saying that someone is a sick person for wanting. I enjoy the taste of dairy and things when I eat. That's not sick to find that tasty. So I'm not comparing kitty porn watchers and non-vegans in terms of how sick their desires are. There's not an issue with comparison at all. What I'm comparing is the lack of compassion and the degree of responsibility for horrific abuse, which is the extent to which it contributes to economic demand, rather than being directly participating. So it's not a sickness of perversion, but you can call it a sickness of the heart, maybe. Not the whole heart, because I think that most non-vegans have a good heart overall, but that portion of their heart, which is reserved for compassion for animals, is sick. There's a problem there. So it seems that there's two main reasons why people choose to be non-vegan. I've talked to a lot of non-vegans, and these two are almost always the reasons that come up. One, it's an issue of convenience. They're unwilling to make the effort it initially takes to research vegan nutrition and to change their grocery shopping habits and cooking habits and things like that. It does take a bit of effort in the beginning, not a whole lot, but sometimes if your life is really, really busy, I can understand that you just can't take